This review is for the Roughneck 357 Magnum and the Rowdy 45 Colt by Bond Arms. And before we get started here, I'll go ahead and demonstrate that these are open, clear, and unloaded. The Derringer style pistols have become increasingly popular over the last, well, quite a while actually. One of the main complaints we've heard from people is that the Bond Arms in particular are pretty nice firearms. However, they're just so very costly. You see them in the gun shops for $500, $600, sometimes $700. So Bond Arms come out with two other models that are, I've been seeing them for around $299 in gun shops. This one here is called Roughneck. It's a 357 mag 38 special. This one here is the Rowdy. It's a 45 Colt. It also takes a 2.5 inch 410 shot shell. I actually had these out today shooting them, but I've owned them for a couple of months and shot them quite a bit. Took it out today and shot, and I haven't cleaned it. You can see it's still pretty dirty, so you can see these are guns I actually use. They are a little on the heavy side, but one thing I can say is I've not seen this much material in a firearm of this size, I don't think, anywhere. I mean, these things are built like little tanks. This one, the 357 mag, is a very short gun. It's a the Roughneck has a 2.5 inch barrel. It's pretty comfortable to shoot with 38. It's very manageable. Now with 357, you know, a full 357 load, it can be a handful. You really want to hang on to it, but it's still controllable. You can accurately shoot this. I was actually surprised how accurate you could be with this little gun. One thing that I've noticed is it doesn't like soft lead bullets with the 38. But I put jacketed 125 grain hollow points in there, and they were actually shooting 3-inch groups at about 8 yards. And I run some copper plated in 38. They did fairly well. And then the 357, if you can hang on to it, it'll shoot a 3-inch group. Well, I say that. I mean, that's the best I can hang on to it. I'm still kind of mastering the grip because it is small in the hand. Now, the 45 Colt is actually pretty soft shooting. It also doesn't like soft lead. Hard cast it seemed to do okay, and plated it did pretty good. I actually had some 230 grain XTPs that typically I use in my 45 ACP, but I loaded them up in here and taper crimped them, and they shot great. Now with the 410, it's only a 2.5 inch shell that's accepted by this firearm, and I've shot 3 different types just to kind of check patterns, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Now, one of the things I keep hearing about these is the trigger pull, and I mean it's different. I'll give it that. If I try to fire it with my finger on the trigger the way that I do any other firearm that I shoot, it feels like it's a very stiff trigger with a lot of pull weight. But the way these are supposed to be shot is you kind of have to pull the trigger in a downward motion, and after you get used to it, it's fairly easy, and it's pretty manageable. You can, if you have the firearm open up, you can pull the hammer back and let the hammer down and see which firing pin's going to go, so you can kind of judge which barrel's going to go off the next time you pull it. Or if you wanted to carry a 410 in one barrel and a 45 in the other, I mean, you can configure it to shoot a certain way. You just have to set it that way after cycling the hammer back. Like I say, they are kind of heavy in the pocket. I mean, that's what I have this one for. I guess it's, a backpack gun or a pocket gun for when I'm out in the woods or bow hunting or in early bow season when there's still, those creatures out on the ground. That's what I have it for. I mean, yeah, there's more practical options, I guess, according to a lot of people, but I mean, it's a neat little firearm and it is very usable. Now, the price point that I mentioned on these, you could pick them up for around $300. you can definitely tell why they cost less than some of the other models that Bond Arms makes. Is, they've got just a rubber grip with their logo on it, and the finish on them is, there's some machining marks in it. I mean, they're still very nice firearms, and one of the things I noticed is around some of the edges was still kind of a little bit rough, not like to where they were uncomfortable in the hand, but where you could see it, where they didn't polish them down as much, and it's more of kind of a matte rough finish than some of the other polished models. The hammer, it appears to be some type of cast because you can kind of see the pore marks in it, but overall they're still very nice, and they're actually pretty fun to shoot after you get used to them. The grip does take some getting used to. Bond Arms offers some extended grips, and for guys that have bigger hands, that probably make them quite a bit more comfortable. But like I say, these things, we've shot quite a few rounds through each one of them, and we've had a couple of light primer strikes. I'd say, just guessing, we've probably shot close to 200 rounds through each, pretty close to that. And I think we've maybe had 3 light primer strikes between the two. I'm not sure what's caused that, if maybe they were, a little bit of dirt or, carbon or something got in there. But other than that, there's been no issues. The barrel locks are really, really tight on them. Now, the sights are a little different, like this one here. To shoot center of a target, it wants the front blade sight just a little bit above, whereas this one here, it shoots perfectly flush. So I don't know if that's just because of the caliber or what the deal is with it, but it takes a little getting used to. But as long as I can remember which one I've got in my hand, it works out pretty good. Of course, the wife likes to carry this one a lot, not as an everyday carrier, but but if we go into the woods or out for wheeler riding or something like that.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of shot shell patterns. Now, this first pattern, if you can see it, it's going to be from a Remington No. 6 game load. There's not a lot of pellets on the paper. It's at 7 steps. I didn't really expect it to do, that well anyway, being such a short barrel. Now, this next one was a No. 8 Federal birdshot, and if you can see around the hole where the wadding went through, there's quite a bit of pellets right there. That might be onto something, if you had to use it for a snake or something like that. On a final note, it's often argued that the Taurus Judge has a higher ammo capacity, and that's a valid point. So if you were looking to carry or own a 410 handgun, you'd have to decide whether you want the durability of the Bond Arms or the higher ammo capacity of something like a Taurus Judge. Until next time, if you'd like to see more videos, hit like and subscribe.